up to the top and click on the little screen share thing, and you'll just select the window that is for whatever you're using to share the images, and you'll tell me what you think and what went into creating them, and then I'll tell you what I think, and I'll hurt your feelings, and I'll make you cry, and I'll also make you really proud. It's going to be a really beautiful experience for both of us.
I promise I've got thick enough skin to handle it.
Okay, good. All right, so whenever you're ready.
All right, so are we screen sharing now?
Yes, I see your screen.
Right. I figured it'll be faster just to put it on here because I posted them all in one place here.
Okay. So just close out your chat windows then?
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. We don't want everybody to know what we talk about. They think we're talking about important stuff, and most of the time it's cookies.
Oh, right, of course.
Awesome.
And we should have a way to full screen this, or is this as full screen as it gets here?
That's going to be about as full screen as it gets.
Right.
So.
Well, that's what we're working with then.
Yep. Okay, so tell me about this image.
This was actually a very impromptu moment, and I hate saying it, but I totally shot this one on green square.
Okay.
I was out on an expedition leading some people out into the ice caves, and I liked this particular cave, so I was leading people to it, and when we got there were people ice climbing it.
Nice.
And this woman that was climbing there, she was almost at the top getting ready to crest over, and she was the last one of the group. So I wanted to get some kind of action in the day, not just showing, ice in every picture. The ice is naturally that blue, and her helmet was blue, so in editing I did make the sky white to try to give it more of a feeling of kind of moving into the unknown. And it was a little bit bland leaving the sky blue. But aside from that, that's just about all the editing that I did on this one.
So this one you shot on the green square and did very little editing. So this is really a raw shot.
It's very raw. I actually have a folder on the screen share I can bring up. I set aside a folder with all of the raw images from the 5 that I posted in case you wanted to see what I started with before editing.
Okay, well maybe we'll get to that a little bit later. But for now, let's talk about this one. I saw this shot when you posted it, and this is one of my favorites that you've shared so far. So I go really far against the grain with most photographers, and I might actually, get discussions about this with some of the Arcanum masters. But I don't care that you shot it on the green square.
I just didn't have time. She was almost at the top.
Yeah. The thing is that they design those so that the camera can do the thinking for you, and a lot of times that can come in really handy when there's a lot of things to take into consideration, like the fact that you have all of this light coming from the sky and the clouds, but you also have all of this darkness because you're at the bottom of a freaking ice cave, and it worked really well for you here. So when you get lucky, you get lucky. The problem is when you shoot it on the green square and it messes it all up if you don't know how to fix it. Or how to change the settings, which I've seen enough of your work to know that's not an issue. So that doesn't lose any points for me. This one's really good. Like, it may have just been dumb luck that you got there at the right time, but she's at exactly the right position that you can see everything that she's doing. And I think if she had been lower, you probably would have lost a little bit of her in the shadows. So whether it's luck or circumstance or just pure skill, I think this is a really excellent image for you. I'm going to give it an exemplar. Yeah, it's obviously it's all skill. Yeah, it's the skill to know your camera well enough to know it was going to get it right without you messing with it. But sometimes it really is just about the moment, and you definitely caught it here. And it lets people into something that 99% of us will never get to experience or see. And there's so much texture and the emotion of the blue going on that I think it's just an exceptional image of yours. I think it's exemplary.
I feel the same way. This is certainly one of my best. That's why I put it up for critique.
All
So
right, bring it on. Show me the rest so I can tear you apart.
fair enough.
Okay, so tell me about this one.
This is Painted Hills in Oregon.
Okay.
This picture, the hill itself, that red streak through the middle, um, right across here, is basically the subject that I was trying to shoot, because that's kind of why people go to the Painted Hills, is to see the paint on the hills.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really hard, I thought, to capture just a color on the side of a hill, so I wanted to get a lot of contrast. So I wanted to bring in the bright blues up in the sky, and with that came all of the depth from all the layers of mountains in the back. So it turned from being, I want to shoot the painted hills in the red, into, let me show this grand vista that has the red hills in the middle.
Okay. I think this is very pretty, and it looks like something that you would see on the postcard stand as the, like, send home to family, here I am, wish you were here.
Right.
And you did a really good job, like, with the exposure. Everything's, you know, everything is visible, and you didn't, you know, blow out highlights anywhere. I would have liked to have seen it just a little bit more contrasty, you know, maybe just darkened up just a little bit, because I'm not seeing any real blacks or anything. I think that would have given it a little bit more of that third dimension, because it almost has this two-dimension painting quality to it. So it's pretty, but it's not, like, really wowing me, and I have the feeling that when you were standing there, it was just, like, jaw opening.
You know, 360 degrees of that, and I was there all day. It was really hard to take in.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine. So I think it's really good. I think it might have been, if it was about the painted hills, I would have liked to have seen maybe just a little bit more of a shallow depth of field, just to kind of bring the focus in a little bit. Everything's kind of flat and looks one-dimensional to me on this one. It's very pretty, but it's not knocking my socks off. I think you can do better, but I'm going to give you commendable on it.
Sure, fair enough. Are we ready to move on? Or okay.
Go ahead. All right, so tell me about this one.
Well, this one I think pretty much speaks for itself. As far as, I mean, that was just an evening I was out with my friends, sitting in an armchair, drinking a beer, listening to Pink Floyd, and had my camera set up shooting. This was one of the captures from that night. I found it's difficult, much more difficult to shoot the Northern Lights than I expected it would be when I got up there, because the lights themselves don't have any physical element to them. It's just a light color difference.
Mm-hmm.
So to make that a focus is so hard. You can't autofocus the picture because it's too dark. The camera won't understand it. And when you try to manually focus, it's nighttime, so the mountains and everything are impossibly hard to see if they're right.
Right.
So you pretty much have to get out there and set it up before it gets dark and wait. And that's pretty much what we did. So using the moon as a focal point so that we could get everything right, set to infinity in the dark. As far as editing goes, after I submitted it and started looking, I was kind of disappointed with myself. With, like, this star here has a little bit of a star trail, and there's a couple others, and I could fine-tune, like this one here is a little bit too big. I could fine-tune and pixel peep out those star trails, but I had already submitted it before I noticed that. But other than that, I was pretty pleased with this one. This one tends to grab a lot of people's attention.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, and I can't comment from the point of expertise because I don't do a lot of night shooting, let alone a lot of night, sky and landscape shooting. But I do feel like the stars that stand out they kind of almost look more like dirty viewfinder than they do
Yeah.
They just pull your eyes away from other things, where I think the focus is really the mountain and just this beautiful, eerie green trail of light coming from it. So I might
That's
have just,
exactly right.
yeah, either,
I feel.
I think either they'd have to be pulled out more and some of the dimmer ones would have to be made more of a focus so that it's a starry night, or just get rid of them and let it be just the lights in the mountain.
Right.
I featured this one for you in the group too. It was one of the first images that you shared, and I do really like it because it has this very mysterious, haunted kind of quality to it, which I think is a lot of the appeal of the Northern Lights, because there's just something so magic and otherworldly about them.
They are very powerful.
Yeah, my biggest hang up with this image is that it's so dark that it's really hard to actually pull the shapes of the mountains out. And some of that may be just screen and the fact that mine's not calibrated, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more contrast and light on the mountains, and maybe like a little bit more dodging and burning with that, just to really pull out the texture and shape of the mountains, because I think that you just kind of lose it in the darkness a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people, when most people shoot the Northern Lights, and a lot of pictures that you see of them, they'll take a picture in the daytime of the mountains, and then they'll take a picture at night of the sky and overlay them.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that that's almost cheating, because then you get like greens in the mountains and everything from the trees that are still alive and all that. And I much prefer the natural. This is how it looked when I saw it. It was dark. It was hard to see. I did do 30-second exposure, so it's still kind of cheating. And that's why I have the star trails, because the Earth rotated underneath the picture, so the stars moved in that 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But if you brighten the mountains too much, I feel that it takes away from the light in the sky, and that's the subject. So I was kind of trying to downplay the mountains a little bit, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, I definitely think it would have taken from the image if you had composited a day shot with it. There's certain lines of the ridges and stuff with the snow on the mountains that I think you probably could have just dodged and burned a little bit just to punch it up just a little, because I do kind of lose it. I do kind of lose it in the image as a whole. And I also think that may be a digital thing, and that might not be so lost in print itself, but for me, like, that it's just losing it for me. So I think it's commendable, but I don't think you quite hit it.
Okay.
Next one.
Okay. Moving on. All right. Okay. This one was... I laugh when I see this picture just because the memory of the whole night when I took this picture. That same ice cave where you saw the woman climbing.
Mm-hmm.
From where that picture shot, that was directly above me. This is just the same place at night. And we had a campfire set at my feet, and that's what the orange is here on the sides. Reflecting through, that's my campfire reflecting through the ice. And then we had light out front. We had one of the people that was with me was wearing a headlamp and was chopping lumber for our fire. And that's the light you see washing over in the front that's given us that really rich blue color.
Okay.
And beyond that, I turned around and saw this and thought that this was something worth capturing. There was no other thought that went into taking this picture other than I really need to make this look right.
Okay. I gotta be honest, like, without you here to sit and explain it to me, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Fair enough.
It's obvious that, that there are rocks. I don't even know that I would be able to pull out that it's ice necessarily, as opposed to, like, water running down rocks, or, like, there's just a lot going on, and then you have this really heavy weight towards the center on one side from the light, because everything else is so dimly lit because of the time, and but there isn't anything that it's really illuminating, so it's just this flash of light across the bottom.
Sure.
So it's really hard for me to place it and kind of figure out. And I find that when people don't know what to make of a photograph, they just go find another one to look at.
Sure.
And again, you know, it's gotta be really hard. And I almost like, whatever I want to critique you for, I want to give you an extra point just because you're like, oh yeah, well I was at the bottom of an ice cave in the middle of, you know, sub-degree temperatures. I'm sorry I didn't think to compose the rocks better. But
yeah, you know, at the same time though, I went out there to take pictures, so I should have taken the time to compose. That was my purpose. I chose to go there.
Yeah, it's I think like one of the things that I really love about you is the fact that you kind of have this like wandering soul artist spirit thing going on,
yes,
and
ma'am.
you're just going to go trail across the entire world and bring these amazing places to other people. And I just feel like you missed the mark with this one for the grandeur that you were probably seeing. I just don't think it's translating in print. So I'm going to give you one. I think it shows promise, but not my favorite.
Sure. Yeah, and again, for the laughter there at the beginning when I showed it, right down here, if you blow it way up and look in the edit, it's really, really terrible here because I had to edit out 2 cases of beer and a bottle of scotch.
See, I actually think that may have made it a more interesting photo.
Oh, it certainly would have made it more interesting, but less artistic, I think.
Okay, next one.
Okay. This one speaks to me quite a bit. This one resonates with me a lot, and I described there in the writing on the side. I caught a sunset in Wyoming when I was driving home, and for some reason, when I looked out my window as I was driving, I saw. To me, it looked almost like it's shaped like an eye around. With the eyelid down and the sun setting, it's like the world is going to sleep, and the earth is closing its eyes.
Okay.
And it just with the powerful red colors and everything, it really, really resonated with me. I almost wrecked my car stopping so I could get out and take the picture.
Okay, well, I definitely am all about getting the shot, but let's try to avoid death. And I really love this shot too. The texture and the color of the clouds are just amazing. They have this like almost gold leafing to them where it's just got this very shimmery, almost metallic kind of feel to it that is really, really hard to bring across in print, I think. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit of definition rather than it being silhouetted landscape with the horizon line. I think that would have just helped ground it because it's so dark and flat that it's almost like something got in front and in the way of the shot. So I might have gone in and tried to touch that up, but overall I think like the top 2/3 of the image just totally redeem it for me. This is just beautiful with the texture and the saturation and color. So
this one
go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing that I found really fascinating when I was editing with this one, and I do agree that the contrast line, the sharp edge from the horizon to the sky, is almost too sharp. But one thing that I found interesting, the light was reflecting in a way that, like this little mesa here, you can actually see the sunlight reflecting out around it, almost like it's coming in like wind, like it's blowing over the top, and you can see it here on the top of this mesa as well. That was actually the sunlight reflecting up over the mesa, and it was fascinating to see. I had to wait there till the entire sunset was done before I kept driving.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful shot. I really love the richness of the color, and if you look at my work, a lot of my stuff is very muted and almost sepia tones. Like I tend to dull colors down because I think sometimes the color and the saturation and contrast can overpower the image, but in here it just works. It's just like butter. I love it. I really do. I'm gonna give it commendable just because I think it's very weighted at the bottom, but that's really my only critique as far as this one. The rest of it is just beautifully composed and exposed.
If I show you the raw one on this one, you'll laugh too. There's actually a telephone pole right here.
Okay.
And there were phone lines that went all the way across on both images, or on the image, and there was a fence across the bottom here
Nice.
that I had to take like 2 hours to pinpoint take it out of every single bit of the picture.
Well, well done, because I can usually pick out when people have cloned and removed things that were in the distractions. And this one, it looks like that was exactly what it was like when you were looking at it. So, bravo.
Excellent, thank you.
So
And I believe that is.
that's all 5. Okay, so let's take it off screen share, and we'll go back to your lovely face.
All right, there we go.
Good. Okay, so so tell me a little bit about where you are and where you're looking to go. And I mean, we've been talking about this a little bit in the chat, but
Sure.
just for the sake of conversation.
Well, I don't mind doing portraiture. I mean, I'll do it if it needs to be done. But I love landscaping. Just landscape and wildlife shots are just, it's what I'm all about. And I know you were saying before that in that other hangout that it's a much harder path to make money that way. And I'm actually perfectly all right with that. I mean, I don't need much money, and I'm going to be camping around the world anyway, so, really, who cares? So, kind of what I'm planning on doing is this job that I just got allows me a lot of freedom, and it pays way more than it should for what I do. So I'm going to be using it to get everything paid off, get a couple new lenses, and save up for my trip next year. And I'm going to be, then once I'm ready and I have that trip set, I'm going to go around the entire world just kind of living off of what I get for selling my Jeep and, whatever I've saved up between now and then. And whenever I run out of money, call my parents and, swallow my pride and fly home. And then have, all of these pictures from all over the world that, that I've taken in all these places, like you were saying, these places that no one else is willing to go, and then start really sitting down, hammering out, selling those images. Whether it be at festivals and fairs and getting galleries together and exhibits to really push my name out there once I've got a really solid, have traveled the world portfolio to just really push out into the world. I do have an underlying, I have a big message, a story I want to tell, but it's going to require a gallery and a trip around the world to tell it. So, I want to capture the thought that we as people have screwed up this planet and that we really, really need to stop, everything that we're doing. And to do that, I want to get pictures of all of these things that are supposed to be like the pinnacle of human achievement. These things that whenever we were saying that we did it was the best it could ever be done, that are now completely abandoned and ramshackle and overrun with nature. I want to get pictures of like Pripyat with Chernobyl, Fukushima. I want to get various military installations. I want to get amusement parks. I want to get yachts on the bottom of the ocean with scuba diving to go get them. And then tell this whole story that here we are as amazing people that have created this thing, but in a million years it's not going to matter because Earth's going to have overrun it all and we won't be here anymore. So let's swallow our pride and get over it. Let's tone it down a bit. And I think the best way to get those pictures is to just travel and get out there and see it.
So here's the thing: is that I pick on you a lot because of some of your mindsets, but I also pick on you because you're one of my favorites, because I think that you speak with more passion than a lot of the other apprentices have found yet, and I'm hoping that they follow suit with you. I positively love the fact that you're like, I don't care. I don't need my car, and I don't need the good job, and I will just save, and I will backpack, and if it comes down to it, then I'll swallow my pride and go back to my parents. Like, there is no failure for you because you have no fear. You are just fearless. You're fearless in the places that you're going. You're fearless in what you're doing. You're fearless on the the idea of encountering failure, because you're like, that's fine, I'll just go home, regroup, and come back. There's, you know, there's no sense of pride overwhelming the hope that you were filled with to go tell this story, which I think is what's going to make you really, really powerful as a photographer and as a storyteller with light. As far as your path and what you're doing, I don't think that you have to wait until you've traveled the world and have this story to tell. Like, I love the idea of you working towards this big gallery show, and I can totally see all of these huge, beautiful images and panoramas from like every corner of the earth and all of these amazing places, and going, I created all of this, and how powerful that will be as a collection. But I totally think that while you're doing it, that you could absolutely be monetizing that from the standpoint of all of these places that you're going. Like, you know, we just said, looking at your images, that the painted hills and painted mountains, like, they look like a postcard. It would be very easy to start making connections and you know, looking into selling them to different parks and little restaurants and stores and gift shops and stuff around those areas, and dropping your stuff down there. And all that is an email, you know, even before you go, and going, look, you know, I just was here and I took these beautiful pictures. Here's some of my Alaska work. I'm now getting ready to go to, you know, Greenland or whatever, and do these as well. Would you like to maybe use some of the photos? Also, if you're looking at being able to do a lot of this sort of, you know, repair the damage that we've done to Mother Earth, there's so many organizations and nonprofits that is their sole focus and lifeblood, that those images would be really powerful for them. And it could be the kind of thing that you could look into licensing them, but you could also look into just giving them to them, because what do? They get thousands and thousands of dollars donated from other people that have that same core belief. So it may be the kind of thing that if you give that to them and that goes out with their marketing material that says, hey, donors, we're having our annual dinner that you're paying $500 a plate to come eat lobster that, you know, costs $8, and the rest of it is going towards, you know, save the ocean, save the whales, save the trees, whatever it is, that those people are going to go, and you can be a feature artist, and those people may go, oh, well, we really love this image, and this is exactly what we're talking about. I want this hanging on my wall. And you could very easily go, okay, well, I donate 10% of it back to the cause if you purchase a piece, in silent auctions. Like, there's so many different ways to monetize that, and then you can just go home for Christmas, and not because you need money.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, that's an entire aspect of photography that I have not, like, I've touched on the marketing stuff. I mean, like, I've sold some of my work. Recently I sold a 40 by 22 of a dragonfly for $500. You know, I've gotten some out there, but as far as making it a stable enough income to be a livelihood, I haven't quite reached that. You know, that's new concept, because it's always just been go shoot because you love it, edit it because you love it, and have a bunch of cool pictures because you love them. But turning it into, now I have a load of money is just a whole different concept.
Yeah, and it's both easier and harder than you think. It just takes dedication and just commitment to your practice. And you know, I would imagine that the easiest way for you to start building a name for yourself would either be a blog or social media. And sure. What I would do is I would just make sure that I have the best freaking cell phone world plan ever. That you could use your cell as a hotspot, so that you could update like live from there, or even live stream. Like, most people will never get to go to these places in their lives. So right. If you could set it up that people could tune in, and, you know, at 2 a.m. on Thursday the 8th, you're going to live stream from there and show people what you're doing, and then you're going to release this beautiful image that you created so that they can see where you are and what it's like, and then see the capture. They'll develop an emotional connection to that, and that'll invest them in you and in the artwork that you're creating, and just update from everywhere you're going. You know, our headmaster Trey, he's like the best person to take a lesson from. Like, go and worship on his Stuck in Custom site and just see how he does that, but pay attention to his online mediums too, because That's all he does. He just puts up these beautiful photos of everywhere he is, and every time he does, and I'm subscribed to him, like, so every time he posts something, I get a little ding, and every time it is, I'm like, I want to go! I want to be there so bad! And for the people that can't go and can't get there, what's the next best thing they can do? They can put it right on their wall. And then they can look at it every day, and that brings it closer and closes down the world. And if you have a message that is attached to that, you know, that's where your purpose starts to fall in from the center of your passion, where you're going to these amazing places and you're taking these beautiful, striking images, and they affect people enough to make a change in the world so that the next generations can have that. Because we're losing it, you know, and that may be your thing. And as you go and you start doing that, other people that resonate on that same message will go, yes, absolutely, this guy gets it, but he's an artist and he's presenting it in a way that we're not able to translate just by going, hey, pay attention, we need to do this. Sure. You can say all of that with one image, you know, and I think that that's really powerful. So while most people have a hard time when they go, oh, I just like taking pictures of pretty landscapes, and they want to go out and photograph the field next to their house or whatever, it's totally different when you have the whole world at your fingertips and you're fearless about going and embracing that, because a lot of people aren't. So I could totally see you turning this into a very viable thing, you know. And the nice thing about it is that if you had a great job that you made tons of money at, you would probably take the money from that to go travel to these places to do that. So if we can do that,
that's actually what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just started a job that pays me way more than it should for what I do, you know, and they're giving me the whole winter off, just like all kinds of crazy stuff. So I figure that by next year, you know, by the end of next fall, I'll have enough saved up, lenses, money, everything ready to go, sell my Jeep because I won't need it for a couple of years because I'll be traveling, and take all that money for airfare and just go.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea then is to just get you to the place where, you know, what you're saving up to spend your money to do is actually what's making you the money, you know. And the nice thing is that for you on a personal level, that's significantly less than most people, because you're not thinking about, you know, your mortgage and all your utilities and the, right. You know, you're just on your own. So if it's covering that, then there's no reason for you to have a secondary job or do anything. You can just go travel the world for 10 years and send pictures, and I will be the first in line to buy a ticket to go to your gallery opening, because I think that your work is really powerful. And anytime any artist speaks with that kind of passion, and I want you to go back and actually watch this and listen to yourself talk, like, people will get excited on that alone. Like, good. That's it right there. That fire, that's what I'm trying to get everybody else in our group to have, sure. And you have it. So don't do anything with this, or you're fired. I will kick you out.
Well, that's good to know. I don't plan on changing the core of who I am anytime soon.
Good, good. So do you have any other questions or things that you want to go over? We have about 15, 20 more minutes that we can go over website, or we can talk about business plans, or are you pretty content?
You know, I am. I'm doing pretty well. One thing, I do want to show you, just because I think you'll really get a kick out of it. Okay. I'm going to click on a screen share again here in just a second.
Okay.
As soon as I get my Photoshop to open up this picture, because my computer is being taxed pretty heavily right now. I'm going to show you the raw image on the one with the sunset.
Okay.
And I think whenever you see that versus how it ultimately turned out, I think you'll be a bit surprised with what I was working with. It's probably my best editing job. I'm very proud of the edit, but I did not expect it to turn out how it did.
Very cool. I'm excited to see it. Now, when you go to these places and you're on these trips, are you editing while you're there, or do you like...
No, ma'am. Okay. I don't even shoot whenever I'm out there. You know, I go out there and I shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and when I'm done, I put it all on my computer and play for a couple days and kind of relive it.
So,
you know?
tell me a little bit about this trip that you're planning for next year, because I was catching bits and pieces of it in the chat.
Okay, I've decided that I really need to travel. Illinois just doesn't do it for me, but it's easy for me to live here because all my family's here.
Right.
So I'm working until I have enough money to leave, and when I do, I'm done. I'm gone. There's a program, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called WWOOF, WWOF. It's Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And basically the way it works out is that there are all of these organic farms all over the world. Mm-hmm. And all these people, like, they're typically smaller, like, family-run organizations, and, like, someone died or went off to college or got married and left or whatever, and they're short-handed, but they also don't have much money. So you sign up to work with WWOOF, and you say, okay, I'm going to be in Ecuador this month. Are there any WWOOF farms in Ecuador? And, of course, there are plenty. So you sign up for one of them that has work that you're willing to do, and you give them a fair day's work, like 4 to 6 hours. They give you meals and a roof over your head. You know, it's no pay or anything like that, but it's a place to stay. You work it off. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be contacting some people within WWOOF, and I've actually been talking to them about becoming their staff photographer, and that's going better than I thought it would. But basically, I'm going to travel to, like, a WWOOF farm in Quito, Ecuador. And, you know, I have to cover the airfare. Fine, that's why I'm selling my Jeep. And whenever I get there, I'll stay for a month, 2 months, whatever, just working every day on a farm, which, I mean, I've worked on a farm in Illinois. I mean, that's why our family's here, you know, so it's not a big deal. And then at the end of the day, you know, take myself a good shower and then go out and explore the area for the evening. You know, and just every day I'll be able to shoot all over the place and not have to worry about food or housing expenses. And then once I'm ready to move on and I feel that I've really covered Ecuador, that particular area well, then I'll contact WWOOF and say, hey, I want to go to Rio, you know, and where's the nearest farm there? And then I'll fly out to there and I'll work in that farm, and then I'll take pictures and enjoy it and just keep doing that process until I get all the way around. I want to go all the way south until I've looped around the bottom, because I've been all the way north in Alaska and everything. So now I want to loop around the bottom and up to Australia, hit the South Pacific, and then back up into Europe and Asia and all that stuff. I've got friends all over there, so just backpack across Asia and Europe and then come back around home.
So part of the thing that we're doing with the Arcanum and picking the apprentices is that the concept is that when you guys get to level 20, that you can either continue your mastery to a higher level, but also for some of you, we'll be talking to higher ups and being like, we think these apprentices would actually make really good masters. And so we're looking for specific qualities that, you know, make you exceptional amid the peers. So from now on, anytime anybody gives me an excuse for how something won't work, I'm sending them to you. You've just been nominated. Because I love that there's no, you're like, well, I'll just work for free, but I'll have room and board, and then I'll still have 4 to 6 hours, where, like, there's a lot of people that would go, well, I can't do it because, you know, I can't travel down there without work, and then if I have a job, then I won't have the time to shoot anyway, and they just talk themselves out of it, and you're like, nope, I got it. Problem? Yep. Thanks. Which I think is really, really powerful. I also think that you would make an amazing master in that regard, because people could follow you that have the idea of doing these kind of, you know, epic projects that are just, that their souls are on fire for, and you would be really good at directing them on how to problem solve around whatever the logistics of that are. Now, you have a couple of benefits that would make it much more difficult for me, mostly my minions. I mean, my darling children. So, you know, that definitely adds to it, but even still, like, there are people that, you know, are young and haven't started their families, or that's just not their path, that, you know, they have all of this opportunity and they're just scared to walk through the door. So I definitely, you know, I have the feeling that you will be well over level 20 by the time you start this next year. But I really want you to, like, keep in touch and, like, post things so I can be like, look, this is my gold star student, and look at all his pictures, and please tell me again how you can't do it.
Yeah.
So
one thing,
I'm really excited to see it.
This totally, I don't know why this popped into my head when it did, but my train of thought doesn't really follow a straight path. I was thinking while I'm on my journey, one thing that I plan on doing, and I don't know how people make money on this. This is something that I need to look into, like YouTube channels. Mm-hmm. Like people apparently make money off YouTube, and I don't get that. But if there's a way, cool. But I was thinking about if I'm going to be traveling, I might do a tutorial on how to shoot better photos. And say, well, in this environment, this is how you would shoot. And I'll be on like some grand, plateau somewhere overlooking something, and actually have a video camera shooting that and turn that into one of my YouTube posts, and then post that onto my channel, and somehow I make money on that. And I don't get that, but whatever.
So basically, with YouTube or your blog or anything else, the basic idea of monetization is really hard for most people because they feel like they have to charge something right away, and it's actually about building the following. So people start coming to you when they see that other people are paying attention to you. Like Trey talks about this a lot too. When he got started, he was just giving it away. He was just sharing the photos in high res, and people could download them, and he does all of the HDR tutorials and stuff. Like if you go actually Google and look for him between YouTube and websites and stuff, he gives away so much stuff for free, and it's one of those things where I'm like, if I'm going to give you this for free, but I'm going to charge for this, you automatically, just on a mental level, assume that it's of higher value because you want something in return for it. So if you have 100,000 followers on your YouTube page, then it becomes easy for someone like you to monetize in a variety of ways, like aside from just the money thing, because you think a lot like I do in terms of more barter than cash.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So for you, it might be the kind of thing that because you have so many followers and you're doing all this amazing stuff and people are paying attention, Sigma's going to send you their whole line of new lenses, and you're just going to put a little thing at the bottom that says shot with the Sigma 70-200 or whatever it is, because then people that want to be like you are going to go, well, he uses Sigma in these things, and so we'll do that. Or like the Canon Explorers of Light, or lighting equipment, or battery packs, or sleeping bags. This is what I used while I was sleeping in the middle of freaking Antarctica. And people will go, well, I want that one. And so you have the chance to really work a lot with sponsorships, which I think would be really unique. And because of the kind of photography that you do and where you're planning to go, you can take that way outside of the photography realm. So you're not just looking at equipment and lighting and printing and those kind of sponsors, but you could also look at all kinds of camping gear. And like the one picture you showed that I was teasing you about with the bear photo, like you could freaking sell bear pepper spray and have a sponsor for that, and they will contribute towards paying your hotel for that week, or paying your helicopter fee to get you on top of that mountain because you can't actually hike up to it. So I would definitely look at some of that stuff for you, because you seem less concerned with making a financial value as much as being able to support the life that you want. So if you're going to take that money, and that money is going to go towards your flights, and that money is going to go towards your hotels and stuff like that, it might be easier for you to actually have sponsors where they're like, oh my God, you're that David? Like, oh my God, I saw that picture, and while you were over there, will you do some photos of our hotel, because we're the most remote, highest elevation hotel, in the world? And you go, oh yeah, absolutely, and you share it on your blog, and it gets 8 million hits, throughout Google of people looking at this. You're there. It's free advertising for them, so that's a mutual benefit. But the way that you start that is you start by doing it without looking for it to be compensation.
Sure.
Because you're just building your way up, and at some point you have all these people up here that you're like, your companies could really benefit me. Here I am, and I'm sharing, and I'm doing this and this, and I'm getting more well known in this magazine, and then all of a sudden you're above them, and they're like, wait, while you're up there, don't forget to tell them that you use our, thumb drives and that you had our earmuffs and, so
Sure.
you can definitely look at those things. And then same thing, if you're doing videos or even just photo slideshows or whatever, and you're sharing these images and they see that you're getting the traffic, and when they go, your channel and that video has 800,000 views, they'll go, oh, well, if you'll put a link to us in your description and throw our little logo up, like sponsored by, then we'll pay you a stipend every month, just like they would buy commercial space on TV.
Sure.
And then there's always the more organic way where YouTube and Google actually do all their algorithms and find products that they think your viewers would like. So if you write in the description that you're photographing wild bear and you were almost attacked, and they'd put, bear pepper spray or bear traps or, camping and logistics, whatever their filters tell them are your key points, they'll match you to companies like that. And those are the little 10 to 30-second ads that show up before the video. And every time somebody else goes on and clicks on them, you get a couple of cents and a couple of dollars. But it just becomes a percentage thing. So let's say 1% of your people are clicking. Well, with 100 people, that's only one person. But when you start getting 800,000, then you're making a couple of dollars, and it might be the kind of thing that you make, a couple extra $100 a month on your YouTube or on your blog. And then as you get bigger, you start making a couple thousand. I think, have you ever heard of Jenna Marbles? She's like this.
Yes,
she's like
I've heard
this hot girl, and she's she just does these funny, stupid little blogs about nonsense. But she gets so much traffic. I was reading an article where they said she makes something like $1,000 a day just off of her ad clicks. And some of it's probably accidental.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They just click on it because they're overzealous and they're trying to click play. So, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're trying to click play and click in the middle of it on accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's totally a different route that you can take. But the basis for it is, if you want to start monetizing it to be an online presence and you want to get money that way, work on your audience. Don't worry about the money or where the monetary values lie, especially because you're so good at cheapening the investment that you have to make to get where you want to go, and you are much more laid back than most people, and you're like, well, I'll just work on a farm, or I'll just sleep on the floor, or whatever it is, and you don't have all of that. Take this next year that you're going to go on this project and just kill it, and just create incredible photos and content, and just show the work, show the work, show the work every day as often as you can. With social mediums, you can now program it as to when it's going to post. So if you're going to go shoot for 2 weeks and then you're going to go edit for 3 days and then you're off to the next location, once you get those images edited, put them so that it posts one image every day for the next 3 weeks while you're in Ecuador then. And then by the time you come back from that, then you can post those photos, and those will take the next 3 weeks. And you can just get to the point where you're queued out for 6 months, where you can go trek wherever you want and you don't have to worry. But there's still constant interaction between the people that are following you, and they're not waiting 3 months to see the photo.
Sure.
And if you start doing that, it'll just snowball organically, and then people will start coming to you. Because every single one of my sponsors that I have from photography, they came to me. And it was just an organic thing where it started growing. And if you look at my pictures on my social mediums, in the descriptions, it always says shot with the Sigma 85, 85 lens and the Canon 5D Mark II, and I just hashtag or tag their pages, and they do pay attention to that. So when they start seeing that, and then somebody comments and goes, oh, I heard about you from JLark, they go, oh, this girl's really selling us, let's send her some stuff. Because we know she's going to take a picture of the package with Instagram when it arrives, and we know she's going to put it on, and we know it's going to be in her video, so it's just free branding and marketing for them, and them sending it to you is way, way cheaper than them paying the thousands of dollars that they pay for advertising for it to come up in banners and on commercials.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I think you are more primed than most other photographers that aren't offering photography as a service, where the client is paying for your time to create something with them. You know, your clients will be on the hind end. You have customers, you know, people that are providing a service have clients that they're interacting with. You have customers and patrons that are going to buy your work because they love the artistry of it, and they're going to be art collectors. So you're going to be an artist. You're not going to be a business, which is going to suit your personality way better.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely the case.
But I love it. I love that you're on fire for it.
Try to be a businessman.
Did that Photoshop file ever open for you?
Oh yeah, probably. Oh, there it is.
All right. Okay.
Got all sidetracked talking. I forgot what I was even doing there. All right, and we will go ahead and kick over to that one real quick. All right, do you see it?
Nope, I see you.
You see what? I totally started the screen share.
Lies.
Shenanigans. All right. You got it now?
Yes.
Okay. So that is what I started with.
Well, I see me.
Ah.
There we go. Okay, there it is.
There we go.
Wow.
I started with garbage for that picture.
Yeah, but it's still really pretty. Like, I can see the making of it in it. Like,
yeah, I saw that, and that's why of the like 30 images that I took of that same thing, that's why I chose that one to edit, was because that one actually had some of the orange reflected already. Mm-hmm. So I knew if I blew the orange out a little bit, it would make the whole thing pop.
Yeah, it is a very, there's emotion to that image, and that's way harder to do when you're shooting inanimate objects, when you're shooting landscapes or things that aren't necessarily bringing personal presence to it. And yes, you definitely have it in this one.
Yes, ma'am. And here's let's see. So you can see, like I said, this is the raw for the climber.
Mm-hmm.
So there was very, very little done with that.
Yeah, these are just beautiful.
So
those are
yeah,
definitely
I have an external hard drive with about 20,000 images on it. Yeah, I shoot a lot, and that was 20,000 images in a year and a half.
So could you take some of the images that you haven't shared off of that yet and kind of build yourself a queue before you even go on this trip, so you have stuff filling into your social media before you even shoot the new stuff?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's and you asked very early, like, why I joined the Arcanum. That was a big part of it, was to try to decide which pictures, according to other like successful photographers, believed that like which of my images other photographers thought were worth anything, or what style that would actually sell, instead of like all these like basically snapshots that I've taken over the course of, you know, all these years that are, I mean, they're cool to have and they're cool to kind of throw up on, like you were saying, like basic social media stuff, but not ever to sell, and to help me kind of sort out my hard drive of tremendous numbers of images.
Yeah, I would spend some time over the next couple of months before you leave for this trip, if you have a lot of free time and your job's like helping out with that, and I would pick some images and I would build a queue for you
Sure.
of stuff that you can have, so that it'll auto update while you're, you know, out of connection with the world, because I'm guessing, you know, in the bottom of an ice cave your cell signal might not be as strong.
That is a very reasonable thought. We were really surprised. I called AT&T once. It was the funniest phone call ever. I called AT&T once, and they're like, "Yo, this is whoever. Can I help you?" And I said, "You know what? I just wanted to tell you that you guys' service is amazing." And they're like, "Well, thanks. We like to hear that. No one ever calls and says that. What brings that on?" I said, "Well, I'm about 85 miles into the middle of a glacier in Alaska, and there isn't another person anywhere nearby. I don't know where there's a tower. I don't know what I'm bouncing the signal off of, but I have crystal clear 4G signal, and I'm listening to my Spotify. I've got music out here for the first time in a week and a half. Thank you. They were like,
see, and that's the kind of stuff that I bet, like, if you were doing that, like, remember, like, the Verizon commercials a long time back where,
can you hear me now?
You know, it would be that kind of thing where, like, if you were calling and doing that, you could, instead of calling them directly and just talking to, like, a random associate, you could, like, say that, like, I'm at the top of a mountain, and I have 4G, and I'm listening to Spotify. You know, there's Spotify and AT&T as potential sponsors. I'm at the bottom of the Everglades, and, you know,
right.
Like deep sea scuba diving, and like those are the kind of things that you could do. So as you're paying attention to those things, anytime you have that thought where you're like this is amazing and this product is the best thing ever, just get on your phone or your laptop or turn your camera around and be like, oh my god, I freaking love this water bottle, and you know, and just like add it, like these are the, and do like a little side thing on your blog where it's like, you know, like Dave's do not forget to pack list for mountain weather and stuff like that, and put them all and tag them, and then, you know, when you go back on your blog and you see that that blog post has gotten like 80,000 hits, take a screenshot of it and send it to the companies that you're promoting and go, look, I'm sending you all these things. Why don't you send me your new sleeping bag, and why don't you send me, you know, a 3-month supply of macaroni and cheese, and why don't you send me like this and that, so I can take some more photos of them from my blog and people can see them, and I'll promote you, and you'll fill my bags of food with deliciousness and keep my toes from getting frostbite, and everybody's happy. You know, like that's how relationships really start to build and benefit you professionally.
Awesome. So. Yeah, that's really I think over the next year, that's kind of my big goal. You know, kind of start selling some of the images I've already taken, you know, kind of like I did with that dragonfly, and kind of, you know, make some money like that to push getting ready for the trip and to pay the last of the bills I need. And then after that, it's just market, go. So
yeah, it's a really good thing too if you're planning this trip. If you know, I know you know like about where you're going with the countries, but if you really do some research as to what you're going to photograph and do that preemptively, that can be really beneficial too, because then you can look at the local areas and where the potential sponsorships are, or what kind of you know, tools and equipment and stuff you're going to need, and go, I'm getting ready to go here. Sure. Would you like to jump in on this? And I'll have you as my official sponsor while I do, you know, the entire, you know, Rocky Mountains, or, you know, while I'm scaling this glacier or whatever, I'm going to be using your products. You know, my blog goes out to this many thousands of people a month. I'd like to share some stuff. Would you be interested in sending me some of this? And they'll just stock you. And then again, it's less money you need because you're not buying any of this stuff because they're supplying it for you. So, you know, you can really build a good part of your life and your business without money if you're just creative about finding ways that it benefits both parties, which I think is just going to come very naturally to you.
Awesome. So. Awesome.
All right. Well, don't forget to go back in the group and tell Mackenzie how many points you got, or go update it on the little chart that Morgan got. You get 1 point for every point you got in critique today. Okay. We're getting to the point that I actually get to send you stuff. And then would you like a new name for level 5?
I have not checked and even seen what it is, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
All right. Well, then I'm going to elevate you, and you are on to the next thing. Well done.
Awesome. Awesome. Right. And I don't know. Do you ever read Calvin and Hobbes?
On occasion.
Comic strip? I'm sorry.
On occasion.
Okay. Someone had mentioned shooting inside a cardboard box, and someone else had mentioned capes. So I went out to a friend's house, and I had his 2 sons put on beach towels as capes. We wrote Time Machine on the side of a cardboard box, and I did a whole Calvin and Hobbes thing, and now I just have to edit it to make it look like they're going through time. And I'm totally going to post those images.
That's awesome. It's going to be, I want to see them anyway, even if those don't end up being the themes they picked.
Oh, they're going to be fantastic.
Awesome. Very good. All
Excellent.
right.
Well, thank you for the critiques, and I will, I'm sure, see you around.
Yeah, we'll be back here for Love of Mine when we do it again.
Awesome. Sounds good.